So we have to pick this up in the middle because I started it off, and we're working on the phrase "Meshorshim Elyon," the das, the abba, ve'ima, and they're mepakpek a little bit about exactly where the shorish is. Let's go back to the brackets and the be'inyan zera b'le'echon nistalku chasadim. So where do they go? Do they go to the das of Zeranpin? Or do they go to the das of Abba Be'ima Eloyim, which is maybe Yisrael Sabbat Tavuna in this case? So there are different kinds of languages about this, he says. So we'll hold this another place. Apparently, the Sheva Kavanos and Reish Rosh Taz, he says. So he said, "V'yeshnam od girsa begavonazu." So there's not the only girsa. Huva b'shem and Sasan, he brings like that. Yekavin lachamsha chamisha chasadim v'chamisha gevura b'shorshim elyon. So what does that mean? The halbishim b'levusheichem shehem b'saradamim. So he's to clothe them in their clothing, which is the damim. V'lhavishim, and then to clothe them after that, if to get them into the damim. And then put them into the 10 names of the Havayot Dema. So, because what we're seeing in the picture, we could look at the picture for a second, but I wanted to do it another place, but of the Girsa, so let's go on. The Abba over there doesn't say anything about that. So that he's saying over here that according to that thinking, it's talking about the das zer anpen. So back to the das zer anpen means that it's not going to be mamshach anymore to what's below the das. In other words, the das is the what do they call the mayim magdilim as a elun. So it's not going to be growing anything. Other than that, it went all the way back to Abba Ve'ima, and we go to a place like that. Let's come over here and let's look at the TIV Gavanos on number Peitas. Now, there is this joy. Let's see if we could get more I could get more understanding about what he says. The question is like this. He says, Eser Havayos Heim Hug de Abba. So now you look at the Havayos. The Havayos actually come from the Chug of Abba, the Chasadim V'Gevura, the Abba V'Eser Acharayim, the Ekya, but then when you get to the Revuah of Ekya, which is the number Dam, Heim Chasadim V'Gevuras the Ima, they're going to be Chasadim V'Gevuras of Ima. So just get this straight, the Havayah is one thing and the Revuah is Ima. So we see that the Ima Dik, this interesting idea, I have to see how he writes this, is that the ima acts as a kli, so to speak, not a kli, but let's say, okay, kli, it's a lavush for what comes out of Abba. Now let's see what he says. Simple enough. The ima though, they're like this. So when you see this in the Havlah, which we will look at, you're actually seeing Mohim right there from Abba and Ima. Alikitzoni is Hagat V'nai. And so where does it go in number Tzadi? Where is this Shefa going to? So he keeps bringing the Hagat V'nai. The Ma'u Ben, the Ach, the Yisod, the Ima. We need a little explanation here. He says it's going to the Hagat V'nai. So think of the Hagat. I'm thinking of it as a series of similar of cylinders, one inside the next. But then looking at it from the top, it appears to be circles. And the two outside circles are going to be Chagat, they're going to be the Partsufim of Chagat and Nai, because those are the ones that are exposed in Katniss. That's what's Katniss. It's the Katniss of Ma and the Katniss of Ben, the Ach, the Yisod, the Ima, and it comes from the Acharayim, the Yisod of Ima. So what's this about, the Acharayim, the Yisod of Ima? The Acharayim Yisod of Ima Shabadas the Zer Anpin that's in Zer Anpin. So understand the Yisod of Ima is now in the Das of Zer Anpin. Now when he says that there is now going back to what he said previously, there's this historicals of the light of the Deus of the Chasadim and Gevurah are going to go back, and in one day he says that it goes back to the Das of Zer Anpin. But inside of the Das Zer Anpen is the Yisod of Ima. So, and Abba as well. So he says, how's this work? Yekavi lachamshek as a chasada v'chavuras chaladucha the Abba ve'ima. So this is our kavana now. And we're going to bring it to the Chagat Benai of Man Ben. Sheyimshko Meshorshim Shebedeus the Abba ve'ima. That here now he says the Shorish is Abba ve'ima, not Zeran Ben. Sheamshicha Meshorish Shebedas the Abba ve'ima, the Yisod the Ima, into the Yisod of Ima, Hamaluvash B'tol Licha Das the Zeran Ben, which is inside of Zeran Ben. That's what I tried to say before Kanaida. Well, how do we know? He brings us just the background. Deny the devunim is pashta b'sel zer anpen, because these actually go into zer anpen. That's a b'kav yomim hachan hod b'sad small baga v'yisod b'kavim soy which is the das and ferris, that line. Nimsa shecha yisod the devuna. So it comes out like this: the yisod of tevuna. We're talking about tevuna here when we say ima. Beluvish bedas the zer anpin. That's what I was saying a minute ago. If you want to look at it more carefully, he says, why is it going there? Let's explain this. He said, the kliha yisod the ima, that would look at the kliha of yisod of ima. Right? That's the yisod of ima. Her kli is the part, the outside of her kli is the part that's going to go to zeranpin. Yeshbo esers bechinos. It has 10 bechinos. Kanoida. The call prad. I guess he means the 5 chasana and 5 gvuros. The call prad u bechina shall call a partzufim, with every detail of all the partzufim v'chasfiros. Call echad kolom milasaris spheros. Every one always has 10 inside of it. I don't know why we don't say that it goes on and on and on. I guess it does. If you look at it in Ovi, it probably goes on and on and on. The general rule is like this. Whenever you have that situation, he says, it comes from the aspect which is up above. It's coming from, this is what Rabbi Memran used to say, come from a certain address. Be'elyon hamakbilo, which is opposite the place is going to Bechinach hamakbalat betachton. In other words, they're lined up. So where is in fact all the shefa going? It's going to the spheres of the Chagat Naidazah. So therefore, where it's going, the Hamshacha is going to go to that aspect that is opposite it. In other words, its destination, same DNA, different place. Shegeneg could be Yisod the Ima that is opposite in the Yisod of Ima Chamaluvish B'das Zer Anpen, which is clothed inside of the Das Zer Anpen. And so what are we talking about? He says that where they're going is to the Chagat Nai. Specifically, should be Yisod the Ima that's in the Yisod of Ima. Now we have the Chagat Nai, so he's going to that Chagat Nai. Let me see if I understand this. He the Bechina Kitzoni is the Yisod the Ima. So what's going here now is coming out of the Kitzonius of the Yisod the Ima. Now the Kitzonius the Yisod the Ima is inside the Das Zeranpen. That is, at least the Yisod is. He said the Bechina Kitzonius the Yisod. You have to talk about the Yisod. The Bechina Chitzonius the Ima. When we talk about the Chitzonius the Ima, now that's the part that ultimately we see goes into Zer Anpen. This is the whole law we're talking about. So here, therefore, you see where they're coming from. They're coming from the Acharayim of the Yisod of Ima, which is inside of the Das Zeranpen. The commotion is Bar Barichos B'Shefach HaRashash. There's apparently a number Lamed somewhere out there. V'Kaven Shachamochin and Nimshachim have the Bechinas Ach. So since you have Mochim, which are Bechinas of Ach, I guess it's talking about the first Amshachim, maybe. L'chein Gam Nimshachim the Bechinas Ach the Yisod Ima. So therefore, that's where they're going to wind up being, because that's the aspect of the Ach. What's the Ach is going to be transferred by the Ach. That's what it sounds like to me. So he said, "V'navel the beer of siddur." So let me come over here. Let me see if I can explain the sidders. And the siddur said, "The hamshich chasana v'gevuras the abba ve'ima mushorshim shebedas abba ve'ima." That's what we had quoted up above. The chitzonius into the outside area. That is actually Chagat Nai is really outside area, but he says to the Acharayim. Haina bechina chitzonius the yisod the ima. That is the outside part of the yisod of ima, which, as I've been saying or repeating, I'm doing it for myself because I want to. He constantly is using this Chagat Nai. He said the Chagat Nai, and the Nai, the Chagat. He's all different kinds of things. So here, Chagat Nai really refers to Katnas. And he said the Yisod, the Ima Chagad Benai, the Bechinas Chagad Benai of Apratio. So it goes to the Chagad of Nati of Nai, of every single Chagad Nai that you have. Apratius, the Yisod, the Ima that you find in the Yisod of Ima. Now exactly, I should read it again. This is just see what exactly it says. Where is it going? He says, black print. He says, Yekavin the Chamshek Chachasadet V'Gevoras the Abba Ve'ima. B'shorshim shebedeus abba ve'ima from their root. I'm going to bring it down from there, and it's going to bring it to the kitzonius. Hainu bechinas kitzonius v'yisod the ima. So the aspect, the outside part of the yisod of ima, that's where this is going, and that's also known as the Hagat Nai. So it's going to the bechinas Hagat Nai apratios the yisod the ima. So it's outside, which is the Hagat Nai, going to the Hagat Nai in Pratios the Yisod, the Ima, the Ma'u Ben. The notice are called parts of Kolab Ma'u Ben. So let's try to remember that there's a Ma'u Ben in every part of. We call Echon Bechem Kolo Afhu Ma. So each one of them is Ma. So it says like this. Let's look at the Ma. He says Hu Mu Ma. He says the Tzad Yamin on the right side of Ma. A little lesson for us right over here that we probably should know. So Ma b'tzad yamin uben b'tzad small. So in other words, it's a ma and a ma and a ma de ben, something like that. Ha'asana nemshachan the chelek hama haprati, that is the sad yamim of either the ma or the ben. Bein the chelek hama shall parts of ubein the chelek ben shall parts of. So each one of them is like I'm trying to think. It's like striped. I was thinking like color coded. So one part is going to be whatever color is represented ma, and the other part, that is, if you're looking at ma, it's always going to be a ma, and there's going to be another female part of that. V'his chavros of ahagavuras nimshach and the chelik of ben, they normally go to that, and they go to which is the left side of this zeranpin. I think that's where we're going. Bein the chelik hama shall parts, but bein the chelik of ben shalom. The ach hainu ha'amshacha hi la'ach, that the chacham is going to the ach, the yisod, the ima hamuluvish bedas zer anpen. So everything is flowing to the outside of that. Now that is where I stopped my that. So that little piece there. Now we did the Shosham El Yod. So now we're on number Yud Bet. We have like a couple of minutes. Let's see. We'll get it started. So he said number Yud best went on this phrase V'ha'eser acharayim the Ekya heim chasada v'gevuras the ima. So again, the acharayim the Ekya, which is the revua, which is the gematria of Dam of 44. V'chad chasada v'gevuras the ima muvur kam the shemas hachasada v'gevuras the ima heim shemas acharayim the Ekya. They are the names of the acharayim of Ekya. Let's say once again, the chasada v'gevuros are these revuos. Of a kach isach of the head b'shar kavanos, it says that specifically. Now it said v'hikshuch ha'mefarsh, but there's a problem here. What do they say? L'lo matzadach kach b'shem makom, but we never found this anywhere else that says this. What does he mean? The b'shar dukte nizkar rak levusha, that in all the rest of the cases, he says it only talks about the levushim, which is the revua. Heim shemas achrayim the abba ve'ima. So we're going to stop here. I see that my chavrus has left, I believe. Let me see what's going on with my phone. Okay, I don't see. I guess he's gone. You're muted? Muted? Oh, what the heck happened? Well, I think we're finished anyway. A little problem there. We'll get back to it tomorrow. He says I was muted. I don't know what that meant. Okay, this is Baruch Flashman, the top of the Tikvan Elevator Kollel. We're getting into more depth over here in what's happening in the Hamshacha of the Chasadim and the Gevuros into Zeranpin. Each day, different Hamshacha. 49 days.